And now we're learning that authorities believe this child was killed all the way back in the spring. That changes everything, Moses.
Yes, absolutely, Nancy. I think the police are going way back to the very first time she was reported missing and trying to establish a timeline. Who saw her during that time period? Who saw her shortly thereafter? And they're following every GPS data on that Tesla, and that's how they found that area about Santa Barbara County.
What do you think about the leak, Moses Castillo? This is your department. You were years with the LAPD. Why is this leaking now?
Well, they want to stir the pot. They want to get the attention out there because maybe they reached the point in their investigation where they need help from the public. Like you said earlier, so there's a rat. Somebody out there has information that could help the detectives solve this case and bring justice to Celeste and her family.
Dave Mack, joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. That report was based on information we believe came from members within D4VD's camp, that Celeste had been in touch with her family. That has not been verified with the family, which leads me to wonder, has there been a gigantic ruse to suggest Celeste was still alive when in fact she was dead, much like the Gabby Petito ruse affected by Brian Laundrie. And remember when he was coming across the country in Gabby Petito's van, texting her family as if he's Gabby Petito? And this contact that was allegedly made by Celeste to her family, we don't know if it was a message, a text, an email. It could have been anything or nothing. So are we looking at the possibility this child was killed in the spring and then a cover-up ensued, making people believe she was still alive? That's evil, Dave Mack.
Nancy, I think they went so far as to use, remember the concert in Silver Springs, Maryland on August 24th, where there was a Celeste Rivas lookalike that was in the backstage area up on the balcony looking down on the concert, dressed in the same clothing that has been described as was on the dismembered remains found in that Tesla. I think this is part of that story. See, they're trying to put it out there saying, see, she's there. She was at that concert. But in reality, we don't have confirmation that she talked.
You know what else, Dave Mack? All along, there were people online saying that's not Celeste. But she was wearing Celeste's tube top and Celeste ripped jeans. She had her hair done like Celeste from the get-go. And we're showing you the video there. And in the circle, there is either Celeste or Celeste lookalike. But it seems so far-fetched that it would not be Celeste. Look at this. We were warned. There were red flags, ringing bells of alarm, people saying that's not Celeste. You know, to Dr. Geraldine Utter joining us, clinical psychologist specializing in cases just like this. She is the author of Maintaining Philly, Survival, Hope, and Resisting Drug Addiction, and so much more. Doctor, thank you for being with us. That would be quite an elaborate cover-up, would it not?
Absolutely. It would be a very elaborate cover-up. But when you look at this situation with David, or D4VD, however you want to reference him, there's a lot of image protection. This is a young person that he was involved in, that was a child, that was a minor. He's an adult, and he's also trying to make way of this big music career. So it's elaborate in the sense that he's trying to protect himself and his image, and the people around him are also trying to do that. Another thing that I just want to mention, Nancy, is the Tesla, the abandoned Tesla, is a huge red flag. Think about it. If he had any type of relationship with Celeste at all, any innocent person or person that had any type of empathy or remorse would at least, at the very least, offer condolences to the family. There's a lot of emotional flatness. There's a lot of what we call emotional compartmentalization, where this is classic avoidant behavior because he's trying to protect himself and his image. He doesn't really care potentially about what's happened to this poor girl. So when you look at it from a psychological perspective, you see secrecy, you see emotional flatness, You see emotional compartmentalization with the main goal as to protect image.
Well, also to you, Dave Mack, joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Speaking of a cover-up, did you see the photos we're just showing? There was a lengthy track record of covering up, because in most of the photos in which Celeste was featured, she's covering her face. What other girl, 13, 14, 15, do you know that typically covers their face in photos that are going to be posted? Time after time after time. A pocketbook, a hand, an iPhone, you name it. That was intentional. So the covering up has gone on for a long time. That right there is taken from a video which was then deleted.
From what we have found in looking into this investigation, there's no clear shot of Celeste Rivas with Burke at all. She's always got a hand up. There's always something blocking our view, so we can't identify her. And I'm telling you, this is so heavy-handed when you actually break it down. You're going, why didn't we see this earlier? Because they knew. I mean, Burke's 20 years old. We've got a girl here that turned 15 after her body was found in that Tesla. So back it up, and you're looking at, there are some people who believe that the relationship between Burke and Celeste began when she was 12, Nancy, and they have been practiced at preventing her from being photographed clearly with Burke ever since.
Joanna Nieves joining us, a veteran criminal defense attorney, founder of the Nieves Law Firm. A lot happening tonight. The timeline change is a massive, massive difference than what was thought before, and it changes all of the evidence. But Joanna Nieves, here's the thing. Isn't it true, when you've got a crime, bad enough to defend, it's hard enough, but when you have an elaborate cover-up, trying to make it look as if Celeste was still alive, a lot of people probably knew about that. That's not easy to cover your tracks for that many months. If that is in fact true, that could be the killer's undoing, the cover-up.
She's acting single, I'm drinking doubles. Girl, let me guess, you don't like how I dress, and you're hating on the way I talk.
Patients have more freedom while feeling more secure. Not to mention, it can replace all other sensors. Nurses waste no time. That's why Nurse Tag can save them precious moments. This small device in their pocket tracks their presence every time they enter the patient room. And by pressing the simple button on it, they can immediately call for assistance from anywhere. Prepare yourself for the future with Nurse Care. Save time and money with a modular solution that's designed just for your healthcare needs.
Absolutely, Nancy. I think the thing is, it would definitely be a major conspiracy for people to be participating and taking acts to cover up a crime in that fashion if there is evidence to support that. Right now, what we have is a tight-lipped law enforcement agency that isn't releasing a whole lot of information, and the reports that are going around are the suspicions and the hunches and what could possibly have happened. But the prosecution can't convict on the hunch, and we're just we need to see a bit more evidence to support any of those type of allegations, whether it's a huge cover-up.
Oh, wait, you want more
even the fact
evidence
that
than a
murder
dead
committed.
body decomposing in his trunk?
Yes, because we still don't even know, like you were talking about with the anti-mortem and post-mortem injuries, we don't know whether or not there were injuries to that body that would support that a crime of murder was actually committed. If all of these are post-mortem wounds, if anything like that is found, we can still argue mutilation, transport, concealment of the body, but are we really going to get to the crime of murder and whether or not D4VD is actually the person who committed that? Or does the nature of the involvement in the crime, maybe it was limited to a potential cover-up and involvement, maybe knowledge, but who committed the act if he's actually named as suspect and investigated for that crime.
The LAPD has been working on a timeline of activity for Celeste and Burke, and an insider with the police investigation says they've been able to determine that in the spring of this year, Burke took a secret trip in the middle of the night to a remote area of Santa Barbara County